vivid verses.
The risk assessment for cohabitation is always tricky. You're taking two independent operational systems and attempting to merge them into a single, streamlined unit without running a proper beta test. On paper, the consolidation made financial sense. I run a consultancy firm focusing on supply chain logistics. Efficiency is literally my trade. Laura worked in admin for a nonprofit. The disparity in our income was significant, roughly a 4-to-1 ratio, but the chemistry over the last year had been high. She was active, engaged, and presented herself with a level of polish that matched my own professional standards. We targeted a loft in the Ironworks district. It was an industrial conversion, exposed brick, 16-foot ceilings, polished concrete floors. It signaled status. The rent was $2,800 a month. Given the income gap, I proposed a split that favored her liquidity. I covered 70% of the fixed costs, rent, utilities, high-speed fiber, and she picked up the groceries and smaller incidentals. It was a subsidy effectively, but I viewed it as an investment in a shared quality of life. I wanted her presence, and I wanted us to live in a specific caliber of environment. The lease signing was the peak of the graph. The decline didn't happen over a fiscal year. It happened in a fiscal quarter. We moved in on Saturday. By the following Sunday, the boxes were mostly unpacked, entirely due to my own initiatives. I like systems. I organized the kitchen, the closet, the media center. Laura unpacked her clothes and her toiletries, and then the momentum halted. There were 3 boxes of her books and miscellaneous decor that sat in the corner of the living room for 6 weeks. They became a permanent fixture, a testament to suspended effort. The shift in her behavioral patterns was immediate. It wasn't a gradual relaxation. It was a total cessation of the dating protocol. In the relationship market, you present your best self to secure the partnership. Once the contract is signed, in this case the lease, some people believe the work is done. Laura was one of those people. The gym bag she used to pack every evening, the one that signaled a shared value of health and aesthetics, started gathering dust by the door. Eventually, it was buried under a pile of mail I hadn't sorted and coats she hadn't hung up. The hiking boots we used on weekends were kicked into the back of the closet. The hiking stopped. The walk stopped. The activity level flatlined. Then came the aesthetic shift. I'm not demanding a runway model at the breakfast table, but there's a baseline of self-respect that keeps attraction alive. Within 2 weeks, the jeans and structured tops she wore to work were replaced the second she walked through the door, and eventually, on weekends, by sweatpants. Not activewear, but stained, shapeless gray sweatpants. Her hair spent days in a messy knot. The makeup routine vanished. She stopped brushing her teeth before bed unless I explicitly asked if she had. It creates a barrier. You don't want to be intimate with someone whose hygiene has become an optional task. The weight gain was the visual metric of the problem, but it wasn't the root cause. She put on maybe 15 pounds in 8 weeks. Statistically, that requires a caloric surplus that is almost impressive in its dedication. The cooking stopped. We used to make dinner together, grilled salmon, roasted vegetables, complex salads. That was replaced by her suggesting takeout 4 nights a week. I come home from a 10-hour day of putting out fires for clients, my brain fried from analyzing shipping routes and cost structures, to find the apartment dark. The only light would be the flicker of the television. Laura would be on the couch, surrounded by the debris of her evening. Wrappers, a wine glass, her phone. She wouldn't get up. She wouldn't pause the show. "Hey," she'd say, eyes glued to a reality show where women screamed at each other over brunch. "What are we doing for dinner?" "I'm starving." The "we" always implied you, and doing always implied buying. I started tracking the financials. The 70-30 split was predicated on her covering groceries. With the shift to delivery apps, the grocery bill shrank, but my credit card statement swelled. I was paying for the rent, the utilities, and now 80% of the food intake because she didn't feel like cooking and her card was maxed out from online shopping. The conversation dried up. In the first year, we discussed politics, books, her work, my work. Now, she spoke almost exclusively about the manufactured drama of reality TV stars or complaints about her coworkers. She stopped asking about my day. I became a resource, a background NPC in her main character narrative. I was the guy who paid the rent and fixed the Wi-Fi. 3 weeks in, I realized I had to intervene. In my line of work, you don't let a supply chain collapse. You identify the bottleneck and address it. I came home early on a Tuesday. I had reservations at Caldwell's. It's a steakhouse, old school, requires a jacket. I had texted her at noon, dinner tonight. 7:30, wear that black dress. She had replied with a thumbs up emoji. When I walked in at 6:45, she was on the couch. Same spot, same gray sweatpants. A bag of chips was open on her chest. You're not ready, I noted, putting my briefcase down. She groaned, a long, drawn-out sound of teenage petulance. I'm so tired. Can we just not? I don't want to put on heels. Let's just order pizza. I looked at her. I looked at the chips. I looked at the lack of effort. No, I said, I'm canceling. I called the restaurant in front of her and canceled. I didn't order pizza. I went to the kitchen, made myself a sandwich, and ate it standing up at the island. She came in confused. Are you mad? I'm disappointed, I said. We have a standard of living. You are actively opting out of it. I didn't sign up for a roommate who lives on the couch. God, you're so intense, she said, rolling her eyes. Living together means relaxing, Kevin. It means letting go of the facade. You should try it. If the woman I dated was a facade, I said, keeping my voice level, then I invested in a false product. She stormed off. She called me an asshole, but she didn't change. I decided to run the scenario for another 5 weeks. I needed a data set. If I made a move too early, I would be accused of not giving it a chance. I needed to be certain this was the new baseline and not a temporary anomaly due to stress or seasonal depression. I observed. Intimacy dropped to 0. She rebuffed any advance with complaints of fatigue or feeling bloated, yet she would consume a pint of ice cream an hour later. The rejection isn't just physical, it's a rejection of the bond. The entitlement grew. She began to view my income as community property. She wanted to go to a concert. The tickets were $300. She assumed I would buy them. When I hesitated, she said, "But you make so much, it's nothing to you." It's not about the amount. It's about the allocation of resources to a partner who provides negative return on investment. The breaking point was a Friday in the second month. She initiated the request. Sushi night? I need to pick me up. I agreed. I thought perhaps she was trying. I showered, shaved, put on a blazer. I walked into the living room. She was wearing leggings and an oversized hoodie that said, Nap Queen. No makeup. Hair in a messy bun. I thought we were going out, I said. We are, she said, grabbing her keys. We'll go to that conveyor belt place down the street. No one cares what you wear there. The conveyor belt place is fast food. It is not a date. But I went. I wanted to see how the evening played out. We sat under the fluorescent lights. She ordered $80 worth of sashimi and rolls. She spent the entire meal scrolling through Instagram, showing me memes I didn't find funny, and complaining that her boss expected her to be in the office by 9 a.m. When the check came, she didn't even look at it. She continued scrolling and slid the black folder across the table toward me. It was a reflex. She expected it. I paid. I didn't say a word on the walk home. The next morning, Saturday, she slept until noon. This was standard operating procedure now. While she slept, I went to my home office and drafted the document. I didn't write a breakup letter. I wrote a lease amendment. I treated it with the same scrutiny I apply to commercial contracts. The premise was simple. The financial subsidy I provided was conditional on a romantic partnership. That partnership involved shared activities, mutual effort, and a certain standard of presentation and engagement. Since those conditions were no longer being met, the classification of the relationship had shifted from partner to roommate. Roommates do not get a 70-30 split. Roommates do not get free dinners. Roommates pay market rate. I printed 2 copies. When she finally shuffled into the kitchen, eyes puffy from sleep, expecting coffee to be ready, I was waiting. The kitchen was spotless. I had cleaned it. The counters were bare except for the 2 stacks of paper. "Morning," she mumbled, reaching for a mug. "We need to talk," I said. "Sit down." The tone of my voice cut through her morning fog. She sat. I slid the document across the island. "Read this." She picked it up, squinting. "What is this?" "A lease. It's a revised agreement," I explained. "We are 2 months into this arrangement. The data is clear. The relationship dynamic we discussed prior to moving in has ceased to exist. We have drifted into a roommate dynamic. That is fine. If that is your choice, I accept it. But roommates split bills 50-50. Roommates buy their own food. Roommates are responsible for their own entertainment costs." She scanned the page. I saw her eyes widen as she hit the numbers. Her share of the rent would jump from $840 to $1,400. Her utility contribution would triple. "You can't be serious," she said, dropping the paper. "Kevin, we're a couple. You can't just invoice me." "I'm attracted to effort," I said. I kept my hands folded on the counter. "I'm attracted to competence. I am attracted to a partner who participates in life. Since you moved in, those things have ceased. You have stopped trying. Therefore, so has my sponsorship of this lifestyle." "Sponsorship?" Her voice spiked. "You think you're my sponsor? I'm your girlfriend, you asshole." "Your tenant who sleeps in my bed and ignores me," I corrected. "You wear sweatpants 7 days a week. You haven't asked me a single question about my life in a month. You expect me to fund a lifestyle you refuse to participate in. The contract is broken." She stood up, knocking her chair back. The explosion was predictable. "You are so shallow. This is about the weight, isn't it? You can't handle a real woman. You want a doll. You're a narcissist." "It's not about the weight," I said. "It's about the apathy. The weight is just the physical evidence that you've given up. If you're training for a marathon and gain muscle, I'd be ecstatic. But you're atrophying, and you're dragging me down with you." "I've been stressed," she screamed. "Work is hard. My work is hard," I countered. "I work 60 hours a week managing logistics for international corporations. I still manage to shower. I still manage to cook. I still manage to plan dates. Stress is not an excuse for checking out." "I expect unconditional love," she yelled. "Unconditional love is for children and dogs," I told her. "Adult relationships are conditional. They are conditional on mutual respect, effort, and contribution. You are contributing nothing." She grabbed the paper and tore it in half. "I'm not signing this." "You don't have to," I said. "But the current arrangement is over. You have a week to decide if you want to step up and be a partner, or if we are formalizing the split." She stormed into the bedroom and slammed the door. Then came the external audit. Laura, like many people who avoid accountability, outsourced her defense to a committee. She has a group chat with 3 friends. They function as an echo chamber of validation. She spun the narrative, omitting the months of neglect and focusing solely on the lease and the shallow comments. My phone started buzzing an hour later. Jessica was first. "I literally cannot believe you. You are body-shaming her. You are financially abusing her. You're a monster." I blocked Jessica. I don't engage with people who use buzzwords to mask logic. Danielle called and left a voicemail. She was crying, for some reason. She said I was traumatizing Laura and that I owed her an apology and a spa day. I saved the voicemail. Documentation is important. Then the outlier. Sarah. Sarah is an architect. She understands structure. She understands that if a foundation cracks, the building falls. We had always gotten along because she was pragmatic. She sent a text around 4 p.m. She showed us the lease. The girls are out for blood, obviously, but I asked her the last time she cooked dinner or planned a date. She got quiet. I think your delivery was brutal, Kevin. Truly clinical. But I don't think your assessment is wrong. She's been coasting. Just be careful. This is going to get messy. I replied, acknowledged. Thanks, Sarah. That was all the confirmation I needed. The logic held up to peer review, at least from the one peer who mattered. I moved into the guest room that night. I stopped buying groceries for the house. I bought exactly what I needed for my meal plan and kept it on a specific shelf in the fridge. I did my own laundry. I cleaned my own dishes. For 3 days, the apartment was a war zone of silence. Laura tried different tactics. Day 1 was the silent treatment. She sat on the couch, TV volume up high, ignoring my existence. It backfired. I put on noise-canceling headphones and worked on a proposal. I enjoyed the peace. Day 2 was the emotional appeal. She waited until I was making coffee. She came in, eyes red. She hugged me from behind. I miss us, she said. I didn't turn around. I miss us too. But us requires 2 people. I can change, she said into my back. I'll join a gym. I'll clean the apartment this weekend. Don't tell me, I said, pouring the coffee. Execute. Show me. She didn't. She went back to the couch. She ordered Thai food that night. She asked if I wanted some. I made chicken, I said, and I'm not splitting the Thai bill. She threw the takeout menu on the floor. Day 3 was the realization. I contacted the property management firm. I have a standing relationship with them. I consulted on their logistics software implementation 2 years ago. I called the regional manager directly. I need to sever a lease, I told him. What's the damage? Technically, you're on the hook for the remainder, he said. But for you, 2 months rent as a break fee. We can have it listed by Monday. $5,600. It was a significant hit. But when I ran the cost-benefit analysis of staying in a dead relationship for another 10 months versus paying the fee, the choice was obvious. The mental overhead alone was costing me more than the cash. I wrote the check. I walked into the living room on Tuesday evening. Laura was there. The scene was identical to the day I decided to leave. Sweatpants, TV, phone. I'm moving out, I stated. She froze. The phone dropped to her lap. What? You can't. We have a lease. I broke it, I said. I paid the penalty fee. I've covered the rent for the next 30 days. That is my final contribution to this household. She scrambled up. Panic set in. The logistics she had willfully ignored were now front and center. Where am I supposed to go? I can't afford this place alone. I know, I said. That's why I suggested the roommate agreement. You refused. You have 30 days to find a roommate to take over my half, or you need to downsize to an apartment that fits your single income. You're making me homeless? She started crying, but it felt performative. I'm giving you 30 days of prepaid housing, I said. That is more than generous. Most evictions happen faster. But I love you, she wailed. I looked at her. I looked at the stain on her sweatpants. I looked at the pile of trash on the coffee table. You love the lifestyle I provide, I said. You love the safety. You don't love me. If you loved me, you would have treated me like a partner, not a utility. I had the movers scheduled for the next morning. I took a personal day from work to oversee the operation. Efficiency is key during extraction. I directed the crew. They took the furniture I had purchased, the Eames chair, the media console, the mattress. I left the couch. It felt poetic. It was her primary habitat. She should keep it. I took the kitchen equipment, the expensive knives, the blender, the espresso machine. She stood in the doorway of the bedroom, watching the apartment get stripped back to its industrial bones. She didn't scream. She just looked small. The reality was setting in. The subsidy was gone. "Kevin," she said as I picked up the last box. "Can we just talk? Please." We talked, I said. I presented the terms. You rejected them. The negotiation is closed. I walked out. I didn't look back at the loft. I'm currently in a short-term corporate rental downtown. It's smaller, 800 square feet. The lines are clean. The furniture is minimal. It's quiet. I spent the first night organizing my closet. I set up my espresso machine. I went for a run this morning along the river. My bank account took a hit from the break fee and the movers, but the daily burn rate has dropped significantly. No more $80 sushi bills for a partner who ignores me. No more carrying the emotional weight of someone else's apathy. I checked my phone this evening. Sarah sent one last text. She's moving back in with her parents in the suburbs. She's telling everyone you had a mental breakdown. Just thought you should know. I put the phone down. I don't care about the narrative. I care about the reality. The reality is that I am free, my space is my own, and the only person I have to clean up after is myself. The math works out.
Thanks for listening.